scripture reading is from 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 1 through 3 and 16 through 19. Of course, there is great gain in godliness combined with contentment. For we brought nothing into the world, so that we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with these. But those who want to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. And in their eagerness to be rich, some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pains. As for those who in the present age are rich, command them not to be haughty or to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but rather on God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, generous and ready to share, thus storing up for themselves the treasure of a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of the life that really is life.
For all the laughter we had up till now, this seems like a little bit down. Fortunately, Lorraine had a short sermon last week, because unfortunately, this one might be a little longer than usual. Humor me, try and stay awake. Because it got longer after I went to the Wyoming Association of Churches fall meeting, where we focused on poverty. And that's just a tough subject. There's no way to romanticize it. There's no way to make it sound more fun to serve. Story itself of the rich man, Lazarus, and Abraham seems a bit strange at first. As our Wednesday night spirituality group dissected this text, there were questions about whether the rich man's sin was just being rich. But no, the sin was having the means and yet stepping over one who was covered with sores, one who longed to satisfy his hunger with what fell from the rich man's table. Clearly, the rich man saw him. And clearly, he did nothing about it. We tend to demonize money in our culture, but money is just money. It has no morals. It is simply a means to take care of things, to take care of us. But when we allow it to own us, well, that's quite a different story, isn't it? The rich man clearly had more than enough. One does not need all manner of fine linen and to dine sumptuously every day. And even if one could, that is not the sin. Again, clearly he could have helped and he chose not to. He could have invited Lazarus to share that sumptuous meal. Wouldn't have lost a thing. And now he's in Hades. And whether we believe in a literal heaven or hell, or a punishing God or not, well, that isn't Jesus' point either. The point is the rich man failed in honoring God's will. The rich man failed to share what he had been blessed with. And he paid for it. Lazarus, apparently by no fault of his own, strictly because he was obviously ill with leprosy, had nothing to give. Did his hell on earth, if you will. And he gets rewarded. Money, possessions, will not lose us favor, but they cannot win it either. So many get caught up in the trap of acquiring stuff and money as if it were the key to happiness. And I suspect that there's probably not a single person in this room that hasn't at some point in time said, money can't buy you happiness, you know. And yet we get caught up in the game. As one who has had the honor to walk through the dying process with many, many people over my time, how one of the folks who I sat with ever talked of the money that they had earned or the stuff they had acquired as they reviewed the blessings in their lives. Not a one. Some even regretted the time spent acquiring money, trying to be, a good provider for their family. But now there they are, and they have no relationship with their adult children because they were out providing. There has to be a balance. Time lost with loved ones, stress, missed opportunities. Now the rich man wants a second chance, but he still doesn't get it. What hadn't occurred to me for Wednesday when we looked at this, and it was the focus scripture for this whole meeting just because we used the same lectionary. Check this out, Carla. Carla was there. What hadn't occurred to me is that the rich man still, when he was dead, had the gall to ask for Lazarus to wet his tongue. For Lazarus to go tell his brothers, the very person he wouldn't help. Abraham says, sorry, too late. Okay, but then can Lazarus at least go warn my brothers? Abraham says, why bother? If you didn't listen to the prophets, why should they? How many teachers do you need? How many lessons do you have to learn? How many second chances do we get? Now, Jesus here, of course, always has a much larger point than how one uses personal wealth. This is, without question, a political statement. We need to know who he is talking to, and it is not an individual, it is a system. The religious system of his time, which had chosen to walk past the beggars at their gate and guard their wealth and position in the Roman Empire. And not only that, they managed to justify it by deciding that those beggars are there because they are somehow the sinner. Things we know now, like mental health issues, they decided were demon possession. I'm sure that made them feel better about themselves and their devotion to wealth and power. Unfortunately, our understanding of poverty today, no different, really. Oh, we may not use the word sinner, though some would, so much as slacker, leech, deadbeat, lazy. Who is at our gate? The ill, for sure, but crippled and sight impaired, widows and orphans, people that clearly do not have money or support. Maybe they left an abusive relationship with nothing but the clothes on their back. Maybe they are mentally ill and just can't hold it together well enough to hold a job together. Who knows? And how would you No. If you didn't stop and ask. Jesus is saying, how dare you? How dare you judge these people as somehow defective, flawed, less than, when you could pull them out of those dark places? You have the power. Loosen your purse strings and satisfy their hunger. Now, we here might not be as prone to judging those in need, especially as sinners. But what are we doing about it? What is the point of being a church if it is not to care for the least of these as Jesus calls us to do? Seriously. Yes, once in a while we give money to charity, work on a habitat house, which we need to do, by the way. We do a good job at welcoming the LGBTQ community. We don't have anything to be ashamed of, don't get me wrong. And I'm not really big on shame anyway, so please don't take it as such. But here's the big however. What are we doing about justice for a church that loves justice so much? I know you do. You see, charity is easy, but the real wealth that we possess is more than money. It is time, it is using our voices, our gifts, and our positions. Jesus was trying to change a system as much as he was individuals. Jesus was definitely about the business of comforting the afflicted, no question. But he was probably more about the business of afflicting the comfortable. Oh, but we are so worried about our own needs, our own comfort, our own time, that we just throw a few dollars at the problems and hope that they go away. Hope that someone else will take care of it. I mean, that's why we have these agencies, right? But what about reducing the need for the agencies in the first place? Do we have time for that? We not only give money to Interfaith, the women of this church helped start it 30-some years ago. We have a great legacy there. And I hope we will always give to that place. But it has also made us lazy, because now they can take care of it. And we get disconnected from our people, from our brothers, our sisters. As most of you here already know, I moved out when I was 15, talking about stories I've used before this morning. It was safer, to make a long story short. I worked hard, sometimes 3 jobs a day, so that I never had to depend on anyone again. Even with my addiction heading for the big crash, I worked. And there was a period where I was on food stamps, a time when I slept in windowsills to stay warm. I was not a slacker. I was not a leech. And I did not escape that poverty and that addiction by myself. That's not how it works. I used to show my gratitude a little more, I'm sad to say. But slowly, I too built up my little castle and got me some fancy robes, not these ones. And I forgot. And so I'm sitting at this meeting, listening to story after story, problem after problem, and crying. So I figured out what was missing. When I was in Iowa, I was graced to work with these folks face to face all the time. I was there helping build a bigger shelter. there was this couple named Dog and Betty. Dog, I can't remember what his real name was. We got him to use it for the wedding, too. I did their wedding. Homeless couple, very devoted. We had the wedding in a hog barn. The homeless community brought together enough for a keg of beer, a couple crock pots of chili in the back. Best wedding I ever did. I was honored to be involved enough in this community that when people froze and died under the bridge, I did their funerals. I miss them. This community actually had a going away party for me when I left. Again, bringing together what they had. They were in many ways more real than a lot of folks I have met in my life. And they are not they. They are us. In this neighborhood, make no mistake, there are children going without food. Medicaid and Medicare are going to people who have jobs primarily. Did you know that? Most of the recipients have jobs. The working poor, we call them. In a way, the government pays subsidies to employers who refuse to pay a living wage. They take care of it for us. For them. Why give them a living wage if the government will do it? Now, if that 75-year-old grandmother wants to work at McDonald's to get out of the house, great. But she shouldn't have to. Jesus' first words in Luke as he unrolled that scroll and made his debut speech, I am anointed to bring the good news to the poor. And his opening speech to the disciples, blessed are you who are poor, and proceeds to go into the Beatitudes. The hungry, the lonely, the imprisoned. All in these repeated attempts to loosen the hearts of those in power. The Pharisees and the scribes, he gives it everything he's got. We've been hearing it for quite a few weeks now. The parable of the lost coin, the prodigal son, the dishonest manager. In this text today, hammering. God, get it, people. What is it going to take? Why? Why, with all of the folks that call themselves Christians in the world, is there still poverty? There are those who bemoan the moral undoing of our country, the homosexuals, the deviants, the addicts, the lazy leeches sucking off the system. You know those people. But the real moral failure of our country is the continued denial of those who need us most. I sat and listened to John Forsland, Governor Meade's appointee to the Department of Health, lay out the pros and cons of proceeding with the Medicaid expansion. And I and everyone around me was just looking at each other in disbelief that the legislation would not clearly see the benefit from this guy who might not publicly say, yes, I'm in support of it, but everything he said leaned that way. But it doesn't benefit them. It is clear we cannot wait for a better time. for our leaders to do the right thing. I'm sorry, but standing here today, I do not see that happening anytime soon. And maybe we cannot change the whole system, but we can try. Or maybe just start helping folks beat the system, overcome the system. And another sack lunch handed out will not do that. We have had a few visioning discussions here over the years. We have talked about missions, but nothing has really taken root. What we need, maybe then, is a passion discussion. What would it take? What would it be? What do you care about enough to make it happen? Maybe we tutor kids to help them survive in the school system, have a real chance. Maybe we become mentors, companions for folks on the road to finding jobs. Maybe we take care of their kids so they can go apply. Maybe we help them get reliable transportation to go apply. Church is about meeting our spiritual needs. Sure, absolutely. But if we do not move outside of these walls and bring about the kingdom to come, then we are in danger of being nothing more than a country club. We are the rich man here. And while I don't believe in a punishing God or some scorecard at the end of your life, I want to know my tears the other day. And I want you to know that your life wasn't just about you. It was about making this sore-covered, hungry, hurting body of God a better place, a more just and peaceful place. You've heard my story before about this village who was down at the water's edge doing their thing. Kids are playing, women are washing the clothes in the river, and a person floats by, flailing, gasping, and drowning. And of course they pulled him out. The right thing to do. Pretty soon another one. And they pull her out. And another. And another. Till finally somebody says, maybe we should go upstream and see why they're falling in. Charity is important, pulling people out of the river. But unless we achieve justice, people will keep drowning. We as a church have been in survival mode, and by and large we have succeeded in reaching sustainability here. Still work to do, but it was important work. Not time wasted. You need to have a stable foundation to work from. But now, my friends, it's time to say thank you to all that God has given us here in this place. And so, it's time to answer the question, to make our little splash in a big ocean. What are we, United Church of Christ, Casper, called to do? And for all of us, in the words of Timothy, to do good, to be rich in good works, generous and ready to share, storing up the treasure of a good foundation for the future, so that we might take hold the life that is really life, not all the smoke and mirrors. What are we called to do? Help me to figure that out, won't you? Let us be in prayer. Gracious God, the needs are overwhelming. The schedules are busy. Help us to break through all of that and find our passion, find our gifts, find our way of relieving the suffering of your people. We give thanks for every day these doors have been open, for every life saved by just being accepted for who you are. But help us now to move out from this place together, to comfort your people, to not leave them sitting at the gate. Be with us as we take time in this place to share the joys and concerns, the things that weigh upon our hearts, the things that get in our way. As we share our joys and our concerns together. Oh God, hear our prayers. You always do this after one of these sermons. It's okay to have celebrations too.
I just want to offer up a prayer for Congress. They got such a big job, and that's all.
Oh God, hear our prayers. A prayer of thanksgiving for all of those people that do work in the mental health industry, in the homeless community, boy, in so many places. That they have the strength and the hope to keep going. Oh God, hear our prayers.
Safe travels for a lot of my family going back home. California, Seattle, Australia.
Huh? Oh God, hear our prayers.
We're here because Dad nominated Rod's brother, Lee Swanstrom, as a Casper College graduate, and he was nominated as a distinguished alumni. And Linda Nix is not here, but Jim played last night, and it was a big honor. And the rest of the family is at the Swanstrom's old church today, but it's a celebration, and nice that everybody could come back to Casper and have memories.
Cool. Oh God, hear our prayers.
Lift up the people in Colorado and other places that are dealing with flooding and natural disasters.
Yes, for the people in Colorado and other places facing natural disasters. Oh God, hear our prayers. For each of the new faces here today, that you might feel a sense of home among us. Oh God, hear our prayers. Yes, what?
I just think we should tell you that Becky was close to a raging water, but they just got some water in their crawl space and everything's okay now. They hauled 4 truckloads of ruined household things to the dump.
We were hit very lightly compared to
God, hear our prayers, because we were praying. And I did call and check.
Yes, you did.
Did she have something? Okay, sometimes they do. Yes.
I'm a 9-month-old nephew who's in need of liver transplant in Denver Children's Hospital. His name is Riley.
Riley, oh God, hear our prayers. Gracious God, there are more prayers on the hearts of the people here than we have time. So whether they have been spoken or unspoken, we just ask that you be with each of us in the ways that we most need you to be. Comfort, wisdom, courage, direction. God, bring to us what we need this week. And be with us as we pray the prayer that your Son taught us in whatever words we care to use, as we say together, Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Will the ushers please come forward?
It has been down this side, but we'll put it right up, that's perfect. Did you get the front row? Did you get it? Okay.